Welcome back to the shop. Tonight I'm just going to work on putting another handle on. This isn't a no-name hammer that I've had forever, so well, it doesn't mean anything in terms of name brand or whatever. Whatever size this is, I really enjoy it. I had made this handle out of a piece of dowel rod that I had for some reason, and I just sort of whittled it down. And anyway, it's sort of served me well, but you can see it's a little bit janky there. So I finally broke down and bought a legit hammer, another American hickory handle. I like the other one, so anyway, going to do that tonight, and I plan on polishing that up pretty good. So this should look quite a bit better when I'm done, I'm hoping. And with my other video, I sort of underestimated how long it was going to take to put a new handle on. This one I'm going to spend a little bit more time videoing actual fitting the handle and whatnot. And I'm not saying that the way I do it's the correct way, I'm just the way that I do it. So anyway, this isn't going to be such a quick video, not like the last hammer restoration. But in addition to this content, I just wanted to give you a heads up. I've got some other things in the works. I've got this grand dual grip clamp here. Super interesting. I'm trying to do some research on it. I just can't find... I can find them for sale, but I cannot find anything else about it. And I'm trying to do some research on the impetus behind this other fulcrum, this mechanism here. As I understand it, you know, you're going to have an advantage. The difference here, it's going to add a ratio. It's not quite 1-to-1, so it might have some sort of torque multiplier. But anyway, it's super heavy. I mean, just compared to the rest of my clamps, it's very well built. It's got the good patina on it, but anyway, this is going to be a different project for a different day. Another project I have coming up is I really like the way Scout Crafter has everything sort of mobile. His bench grinders, as far as I can tell, you can just pick them up, move them down, clamp them, do whatever you need to. And I mean, I have a really small shop, so space is a real issue for me. So I'm going to take this vise that I restored, and I got a piece of stainless steel here that I'm waiting on the right size bolts. They should be in Saturday. And I'm going to drill and tap the pan head bolts into this piece of stainless, and then weld them on the bottom after chamfering all the edges and whatnot. But anyway, that should make for a sturdy little base for this, and some interesting content for the channel. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be very practical. So anyway, that's some of the upcoming stuff. The 3D printer is coming along. The build is working, is sort of slow going. I just do a little bit at a time as time permits. It would be horrible video for those of you that express some interest in seeing it. I'll include some clips eventually, but I'm putting 2.5mm nuts and bolts together. I mean, I can just barely see them when they're right in my face, so it'd be horrible content for the channel. So anyway, I do have some cool stuff coming up between this grand dual grip clamp, which, you know, if anybody has any information on it or whatever, or any way to point me in the right direction or whatnot, I'd appreciate some input on it. And then with the old Colombian Cleveland vise, that's going to get a base. That'll have a little bit of stainless steel welding in it. Not a welder. I'm not teaching you how to do it. I'm just showing you what I'll do. But that'll be another project. I don't know if that'll come this weekend or next. But today, we're going to work on this ball peen hammer. So this is going to be a little different than the normal videos, because if I was to go over and sandblast this, it would obviously come take all this off and give it that white etched look. But because I'm going to sand this down and make it a little smoother, you can see some of the casting marks along the edges here. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with the flappy paddles and clean it up, polish it, try to make it look a little cleaner. And because I'm going to be going over it completely with this, sandblasting it would just be an unnecessary process. Another thing I'm going to show you today, which is new to me, are these are a Scotch-Brite style flappy paddle and or sanding disc. They do say they'll hold up to the RPMs of of a die grinder. We'll see how that works out. Anyway. Alright, now to the belt sander. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of a bonus content. I have lots of die grinders. They're cheap. I hate changing bits on them. This wire wheel just does nothing but stab me in the face. So I'm going to trade this wire wheel out and try these new Starbright or Scotch-Brite style polishing wheels. So we'll see how those go. But the problem when you have a bunch of different die grinders is you end up having different size collets and different size wrenches and whatnot, and just typical wrenches don't typically fit in there into this narrow spot. So what you've got is this hot mess of all these grinders, and what do you do with all the little special wrenches that come along with it? How do you keep from losing them? Well, if you're a normal person, you just keep them in a drawer and it's not an issue. But if you're me, you can't keep track of stuff. You take your welder and you weld them all together. And then you not only weld them all together, you weld them together on a chain so that they can never get more than 5 feet apart from one another. And then this chain is pretty hard to find. It's an old sash chain from a window. But what it allows me to do is keep all the appropriate size wrenches all in one spot, and it's not a big deal. And it's actually a little bit more than just wrenches. For the DeWalt 4-inch grinder, 4.5-inch grinder, this Allen wrench fits the DeWalt. This fits the end of the cutoff wheel. That's an oversized cutoff wheel. It's probably not safe, but it works like a hot damn. I really like the 4-inch on this 3-inch cutoff. It's great. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying that I like mine. But this, everything that I'm going to lose, you know, I just weld the damn thing together, and that works for me. And I just hang it from the side of the toolbox. Now, if you guys watched Scoutcrafter, you would have seen his, he did a little bit better job of fixing a bigger hammer where the end was really smashed down, and there wasn't actually no, it was a poorly designed claw hammer, I believe, and it didn't have any relief on the edges, and this is probably hardened to some degree, and you don't want a crisp edge. You don't want a nice sharp, you don't want a nice 90-degree edge like that on these tools, because you strike something, this shard will come flying off and invariably find you right in the eye somewhere. So anyway, you want to come through and put a nice bevel on the outside of there to sort of reduce the impact, the probability of that splitting off and busting you in the face. Anyway, the little Scotch-Brite pad, this is no panacea. It's not my favorite thing so far. I think there's it's doing a pretty good job, but anyway, I can feel it coming apart, so the frangibility of it, I guess, is pretty high. I don't expect this to last too long, but again, they weren't real expensive, but it seems to be doing a better job getting into some of these nooks and crannies. The thing is there's some pitting that's a little bit deeper than, I'm sure that would take it out, but it would be at the expense of that entire wheel. So I'm coming back with the flappy paddle and getting some of the sort of really deep pits out of there. out of the buffer. So in the last quick hammer restoration video that I made, I said, oh, you know, I'll just do this hammer thing real quick, and it'll be a, you know, it'll take me 2 seconds, and I'll go ahead and throw the new handle in. That was complete crap. By the time I ended up sanding it, polishing it, and fitting the handle, and I messed up a little spot on the, well, let me just show you. I'd gotten a little bit overzealous with the sander and got in a little bit too far, so, you know, these aren't how-to videos, these are just what I do. So anyway, I'm going to try not to, I think this handle's a better match, so there's less room for me to make an error, so we'll find out here. Oh, it's pretty close, but it does not fit perfectly. So I'm going to need to fit this a little bit better. Now the end seems to fit just about. I mean, it's a little snug. This might have a taper in it. Anyway, so I'm gonna mark just for consistency's sake. That'll be the bottom, and the top fits down to about here. So by coloring this, I'll have some idea of where I'm taking material off of. Oops. And where I'm not taking material. Now I saw a guy, was it the Russian woodworker? Somebody restoring a hammer. They took a lot of time doing it. They did a really nice job, but anyway, they put the wedge in at an angle. We'll see how that does. Now this is the Bob Smith Industries 2-part, 5-minute 2-part epoxy. I love this stuff. I don't make any money off of any of this crap, so I'm not pushing one thing because I have another agenda or whatever. It's just what I use, what I've grown to like. I by no means am tied to any one product. I've got, I don't know, some other stuff. This is supposed to be machinable. Anyway, what I'm using now is that Bob Smith 5-minute 2-part epoxy to sort of fill in the goo, or fill in the room around the handle. So we're going to let that set for a little bit. Set this somewhere where it won't glue itself to the bench. So we're going to let that cure. And then come back and sand this off, polish it, and then shellac it. Alright, unlike Scout Crafter, I don't have a furnace or anything to heat my stuff up on, but I do have a heat gun. I'm going to put a little bit of heat on this just to make sure that everything is cured. The epoxy, it says 5 minutes, that's the working time, but with anything, heat usually speeds up the reaction, so I'm going to give this a little bit of heat, clean this up, then shellac it, and I'll bring you back. So there it is, my second foray into the shellac world. I have the liquid, and I'm sure that the regular pint can would be alright, but you know, this seems to be handy as hell. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. It's got a legit handle on it now. Again, the other handle that was on it was just some homemade half-assed attempt. It served me well, but anyway, I think this looks quite a bit nicer. Thanks for watching, and again, if you like it, subscribe. If you don't like it, comment, tell me why. In the very near future, I got this Grand Vise coming up with the C-clamp. I also have the base for the vise, and then and I've got some other abrasives coming in, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit and why I have them. But anyway, this weekend not going to get a lot of content up, so I wanted to get this out there. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.